What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with Immersive Engineering. Now today, guys, we're going to be making the arc furnace, which is why if we take a look at my inventory, I have a ton of stuff in here. Now, I would say that the arc furnace is probably the most expensive multi-block structure in all of Immersive Engineering. I'm going to exclude the diesel generator setup that's going on out there, mainly because that takes like 4 multi-block structures to make, so that might, rival this one in being the most expensive, but this one took like 6 stacks of steel, or it took me 6 stacks. Might take you guys a little bit more. So right now, like I said, there's a lot of stuff in my inventory. We're going to be using most of it for today's build because there's a lot of different things we have to do. But first things first, I just want to cover the amount of steel this thing took so that you guys can get a general idea of why it takes so long to set up. So it takes 25 blocks of steel. That in and of itself will consume so much. If you think about, 1 stack of steel will get you 1 ingot, and then it would get you 7 blocks of steel, taking 9 per. So essentially, to make this, it takes a little bit less than 4 stacks, be like between 3 and 4 stacks of steel to make the 25 blocks. Then on top of that, you need the steel slabs, which are essentially 2 slabs per 1 block, which is another 7. So that's another stack. So you're between 4 and 5 stacks right now. Then you need these heavy engineering blocks. You need 9 of them. We have 10 because obviously they come in sets of 2. So that one right there took another, it would be 5 sets, which would take 12 per. So that one was another roughly 60. So it's between, 5 and 6 stacks, and then you add in the steel scaffolding, which I already had. So that puts you a little bit over 6. So luckily for me, we had just finished setting up last episode the steel processing plant down here. Now I took your guys' suggestions, I added glass, and I think it looks awesome. I also had a great suggestion that was to add the colored glass above the input and output chests. And they even had the Immersive Engineering themed input and output. So you always know that blue is going to be the input, so this is where we drop stuff in. And here's the output. I still have some steel working in there. I think for the most part, yeah, I think that, I don't know actually how much we have left in there. But I got a lot of creosote, and I actually used a bunch of it already too. So I don't think we'll ever miss out on creosote. But over here is where we're going to be setting up the actual arc furnace. I pretty much just carved out the room perfectly so that we wouldn't have to do much mining on camera and we could just jump into the building. So this is where the arc furnace is going to go. It's a 5x5, and pretty much it's 5 tall at the highest point. So most of it's not 5 tall. It's just like at the very center back of it. But that's going to go right here. And I'm going to put some stairs around it so that we can get down there and access it. And then over here is where we're going to put the industrial squeezer, which is what we're going to need to use to make these graphite electrodes, which are what are going to allow the arc furnace to actually run. So we're going to cover that a little bit later, but for now, we need to get to building the actual arc furnace. So we come in here, like I said, it is a 5x5, and you can see at the very back, it is 5 tall, but for the most part, it's just like a really clunky machine. It looks pretty cool once you form it. Right there, you can see it looks really cool once you form it, and there's a lot of inputs, and there's outputs, and the redstone control and everything. Pretty crazy. You get to put the power in on the back. It's kind of like the excavator, and there's all inputs and outputs, and we'll go over that once we make it. But for now, we need to get building because this thing is going to take a really long time to actually set up. So we gotta get everything out here that we're going to be using. So blocks of steel. Let's get out the heavy engineering, scaffolding, light engineering, and the steel slabs. And we can get to work. Okay, so we're going to be building it, obviously, so this is going to be the front of it. So we are going to want... Oh, you know what? I forgot. We need to grab the cauldron, too. That's going to be the front center right there. That's where that's going to go. And we may actually need to bring this down one more eventually, just because I didn't actually think about how this is going to form. So then we're going to be surrounding this. I think we, for the most part, surround it. Okay, we go 4 back. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we got to get rid of this torch. Hopefully it's... Yeah, it's bright enough down here. So we're going to do that all along here. Then we're going to need one of these here with steel scaffolding, block of steel, and scaffolding, heavy engineering blocks. These are going to go right here. So I guess the bottom is actually the only part that's going to be using this. And okay, so that is going to go like that. And I guess I dug this out. You know what, I think this was supposed to be set one further back, but, we'll just do it like this because I don't feel like taking this apart, and we'll adjust the room accordingly. But I did want to leave room in the back because there is an output on the back, and obviously that's where you wire the power. So that's why we do want a little bit of room back there. And we need some more scaffolding, and I'm so bad at memorizing these, like the first time around, it takes me so long. So what needed to go back there? Scaffolding again, okay. So that is the first layer. We got the worst layer down. So now we just have to line this. Essentially, I think it was like this. And then light engineering block there. And 3 across the back. Hopefully that is it. Yep. Looks like that is it. Next layer. Okay. So this one is a bunch of light engineering blocks. Just 5 across the back. And now we get to start burning through these blocks of steel. So this is just making me cringe right here, because these, honestly, like, I'm just throwing away stacks of steel as I do this. And the one thing that kind of bothers me is I'm not actually going to even be using this that much. I want to build it because we haven't done it before, and I wanted to get you guys like a general idea of how much it costs and what it does and the pros and cons of it. But honestly, it pretty much isn't going to be super useful to us, because it would be really nice for making steel, but it chugs through power. We don't have the power to support it at this point. So eventually we might use it, but you know, for now it's not worth the actual cost. So I'm making it, and we'll have a room for it if we ever need to use it, but you know, it's just going to be to give you guys some examples. And this should be the last portion of it. Okay, so guys, it is now time to actually form this thing. And you know what, I am going to mine this down one right here. And these stairs are going to get a little weird, just because you can see over here the way that I bring the stairs down is kind of like this, just kind of gradual. And that's not going to work right here, I don't think. So that's unfortunate, but I think we'll be okay in the long run. I'll just have to readjust it. So to form this, you got to click right down here on this cauldron, and boom, the massive multi-block structure looks a little bit smaller now that we've kind of formed it, and it looks a little bit better. Now to access this thing, you're going to click on this vat right here, and just right off the bat, you might seem a little bit confused with this. So we're going to go over the 4 different slots. So the top slots, these 3 right here, are for these the graphite electrodes. Now this can run 477 times without having to replace the electrodes, but you can see they have an integrity, and every time it runs, it goes down by 0.21%. So once it gets low, you need to replace them. And obviously you're going to be doing that with the squeezer, which we're going to talk about in a second. But these are going to be going in the top. So we can click these 2 in right here. We're going to need a 3rd one, which we will finish making later. I just wanted to show you guys how we make it on camera, or give you guys an example of at least one. Now to make these, you are going to need this engineer's blueprint. Now you can see it says below engineer's blueprint, arc furnace electrodes. And if we hold shift, we can see created items, graphite electrode, which is what we have up here. Now, to use this, you have to go up to your engineer's workbench, and you throw the pattern in there, and you can see it's really cool. It pops it up right here, nice little 3-dimensional pattern thing. And you can see it's got a little bit of it's like a weird crafting grid right here, and you can see graphite electrode, which requires 4 times the HOP graphite ingot. Now, to make the graphite ingot, we're going to take a look at the recipe right now. You have the graphite electrode, you put 4 ingots in there. To get those, you need to smelt down the graphite dust, which I already have some of for us to actually work with. But to get this, you can throw obviously the ingot in the crusher. What you also could do is use the industrial squeezer, and this is what you need to use, because you're not going to be crushing ingots and resmelting them. That's not going to get you anywhere. So you need to use the squeezer. Now, I think this is a little bit weird, but it is how you get it. You put in 8 coke dust, and you're going to get out 1 graphite dust. So it's pretty expensive. I do have a couple extra coke dust because I did do 2 of the electrodes already, and I just used the squeezer that was out there. But like I said, I don't want to constantly be running out there, so we're going to make one downstairs. That spider is very annoying. But for now, we're going to cook down the rest of the graphite dust, and I'll just split it between these 2, and it's just going to get caught right over here. But then we will make it, and I just wanted to show you guys kind of how you do that with the engineering workbench. And then we can head back down and actually start wiring the power over, testing things out, and explaining the rest of the UI. Now, one thing I want to discuss with this pattern over here, and I'll talk about it in a second actually, because I want to grab this and head back over, but this pattern sucks to get. Honestly, all these engineering patterns do, and if we take a look, let's search it up. Okay, so you can see there's 3 of them. You have one for common projectiles, which can create all those, so if you're using the revolver. You have another one for special projectiles, which again would be in the revolver. And then the last one is the arc furnace electrodes, which create the graphite electrodes like this. And the reason it's annoying to get is because unless you're playing in FTB Infinity Evolved, you cannot have a recipe to actually create this. You need to go out and get it. And to get it, you need to find a village, and you need to talk to an engineering villager and trade for it. or you need to go to his house and steal it from him, assuming he has it there. Now, each of the houses will spawn with a couple different things. You could get some different components for multi-block structures, things like that, some ingots, assorted stuff like that that can be between like 1 and 4 or 1 and 2, but you will only ever get one blueprint per engineer's house. And the house actually looks pretty cool. That's besides the point, but you'll know it's got like a brick ceiling. It's got green carpeting inside. It's got some treated wood on the outside. It's got a porch and all that stuff. So it looks pretty nice. You'll know it when you see it in a village, and it will spawn in a village if you have the Immersive Engineering mod. And that is where you're going to get these blueprints. You can't craft them. It took me like an hour to find this. It kind of sucked, but luckily it was the first one I came across. I didn't find the other two, which would at this point be useless. But I found it, and now we can make this. So we are going to grab this out of here. This is the last electrode. You can see the UIs get a little bit glitchy. It said I had 6 in there after I pulled it out. Only have 2. And I guess we can come over here and grab the last one. It wouldn't despawn, as I was informed by you guys. Stuff does not despawn on these, but I still just want to grab it anyway. Got a nice creeper hanging outside our door over there. And we can come back down here, and we can throw the last one in. And you can see they actually are going to be up here. You can see them. If we take, the center one out, the center one will not be up there anymore. So that is actually where you can input them. So you come up here to the top, and you can see there's all these different inputs. The centermost input is going to be for these. If you need to insert stuff in here, the centermost input is for that. Next thing we're going to go over is the leftmost set right over here in the UI. Now this is going to be for your ores, your grit, your ingots, any of that stuff that gets put in here. The essential stuff to what you're cooking down. Each of these is going to have a temperature level, so if you've ever messed around with Tinker's Smeltery, you have that temperature level on the side as they're getting cooked down or smelted down. That is what this bar right next to it is on each one, so you can see the progress. The very cool thing about this is that you can actually have multiple things going at once, so it's going to be a lot faster, but obviously you can throw more things in here too. But obviously it's going to cost more, it's going to be faster, so there are some pros and some cons. Obviously if you have the power, it'd be really nice, but that is going to get input on the left center side right up here at the top. You can see the blue indicating input. That is where that is going to go in. Now if we look at the right side of the UI, there is another 2x2 column right there. That is going to be for additives. So if we were going to make steel in here, which you could make, and I believe it would only take 400 ticks to actually make it, you are going to be putting in iron. And then you should be putting in, I believe it's coke dust. We can take a look at that and just see the difference. So if we look for steel ingot, we hop over, you can see blast furnace, 1200 ticks, iron and coal coke. We come to the next one. Arc furnace, it's going to be 400 ticks, so much, much faster. It's going to take an iron ingot and coke dust. Now the iron ingot is what's going to go on the left. The coke dust is what's going to go on the right as an additive. And it's going to make slag, which is going to pretty much just be a byproduct, and then you're going to get the steel ingot. So the last thing you need to look at here is going to be, by the way, the additive's going over here. Sorry if I didn't say that, but yes, you can see blue input, same thing. Pretty much just look at the UI. You got left side goes in left side, right side goes in right side. But now it's the output. So it should be pretty self-explanatory that, you got these mixing together here, you got these coming down here too, and they all come to the bottom. It's pretty much just following the arrow. Now the bottom one is going to be the output, and you're going to have one of these is for slag, which is just the, excess stuff that you're going to get. It's the byproduct, it's the waste, and you need to make sure you're taking that out. It is going to be output out the very bottom of the back, so that right there you can see the orange indicating output. That's where it comes out. It will automatically eject onto anything, be it a different inventory, conveyor belt, pipe, whatever you're using, it will eject into that automatically. The rest of it is going to be for outputs just from, the actual output you're getting. So, steel or whatever ingots or whatever you're cooking down is going to go here, and you're going to be able to get that right out here in the front. It kind of like dumps into this right here, and that is where it's going to come out. You got the redstone control right here, and that is the whole machine. So it is actually kind of simple to automate, assuming you're not in a super, clogged up room like this. But now we're going to need to run power to this. So power is going to be on the back right here. You can run it on any of those. And my main idea is we're going to cut through this wall right here, and I'm going to try and cut into the other room and steal power from over there. So we're going to come right in here, and we should actually be able to wire this pretty easily over here and just hook it up to the wall. So we have the medium voltage wire connectors. Let's just put that on the same level. Let's get it right in the center, and we'll just hook it up right in the center there. So we can take this, and you know what, actually, if we want to be smart about this, we could do this right here. We'll put this over there. We'll save one of these, assuming that we have enough space to wire this. It shouldn't be too far. So we can wire that, and then we can connect this, and this thing should start getting power. So we got to go to the vat where we can click and get the UI. Yes, so we have power there. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to be hooking up the squeezer right over here so that we can get, you know, whatever electrodes, you know, we need to replace. We can do that all over here. So squeezer, super easy to set up. Just going to do the 3x3 on the bottom of light engineering blocks, fill in the center one, and do the squeezer all around. And obviously do the 3x3 on the top again. And I'm going to have to actually get another space on top for wiring this. But we can form it on the front, and it looks nice, fits in there perfectly. Now, I guess this actually wouldn't work because I kind of have to... That's a little awkward right there. So we need to have it up one higher. You know what? Let's take a snack break. Let's take a quick snack break and think about this. So let's come over here and let's get up here and actually break this a little bit so that we can gain access to where we need to run the power in there. Oh, you know what is that? Is that outside right there? Okay, so that is outside. We'll have to cover that up because that's just not gonna play. So now we got this hooked up. I guess honestly we could just do this right here and wire it. I'm not super worried about, you know, using a ton of wire right now in here. So we can wire this and connect it. So now we can use this thing too. So unfortunately we don't have 8 different coke dust to throw in here and show you how it works, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You just throw 8 in there and you will get 1 of the graphite dust back and you can cook that down. So it does take a lot of coke to actually make the electrodes, but that is fine. So this is pretty much the room setup in here. This is how everything's going to work. Now I guess what we could do is actually show you the steel production and how everything works. So if we come up here and we can just grab some iron because I do have some coke dust, we can test this thing out. Come down here and we'll watch how the graphite electrodes kind of decay. So the coke dust is the additive. That is going to go in here. Now keep in mind I'm not automating this, but you know, if we were, the coke dust would go in this one, the iron would go in this one, and the electrodes would need to go here. And we can throw this in here, so we will throw 5 in there so you can see they take durability. Now I'm curious if you stack them or if you separate them. It might be best to separate them. Look at how fast that power is draining. We are in no way transferring power fast enough for 3 of these to be going, I guess. But you can see the temperature bars going up and these have integrity going down very slowly. That's really weird that it keeps changing that number on the side. If you look at it, it just keeps having its ID changed. It's pretty cool. We got a second one finished, and now the power is slowly going back up. And if we go upstairs really quick, I believe this power upstairs should just be absolutely getting destroyed right here. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, look at that. That is why we're not using it right there, folks. It is getting absolutely shredded. This thing was full before we actually started running that down here. All of this stuff that we have set up here, when it's running, doesn't even burn faster than what we have getting put into it from, you know, these weak power generation methods. This thing right here is like 512 RF per tick. We have maybe 300 up there. So if we look at this again, you can see that these are damaged a little bit. We've got the 3 slag, the 3 steel ingots, and we have the 2 coke dust left over. So the next thing that we're going to do, and I'm going to set this up now even though we're not really going to be using it. It's really not in a form of automation, but I should have an extra chest up here. I have a couple extra chests up here. So we are going to be pulling out the slag out the back and just putting it into a chest. So in theory we should just be able to do this and the slag will automatically get put in there. And I think if we wanted to, we could just throw a chest like right here and it would drop. It might drop it out into it. That's worth trying, I think. Because in the book, it specifically states that it will automatically output slag, but it doesn't say anything about automatically outputting the actual outputs. So it'd be interesting to try if we just throw a chest right here. Okay, so it does automatically output those, so that is good. So guys, that is how the arc furnace is going to work. Those are the 2 things you're going to need, the squeezer and the arc furnace. It does chug power, keep that in mind, and also on top of that, you do need to go and actually find the recipe or pattern or whatever you want to call it to make the graphite electrodes, which probably was the longest process or the whole longest portion of this whole process. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you found it informative or helpful in any way, feel free to give it a like, as it does help me out a lot. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to post those in the comments, as I am here to help. And thanks again for all the feedback you guys have been giving. It has been phenomenal. And I will talk to you guys later.